Now let's go to our next story, our first story, I should say. Since attaining political independence some 63 years ago, Nigeria has experienced recurrent tensions due to inequalities that exist among the different regions and ethnic groups, more so in the appointments to public office. After an avoidable 30-month fratricidal war, successive governments have had to snake through issues of nepotism, regionalism, cronyism, and every other negative ism that have dogged our national life. The appointment of Ola Olukoyede, a former chief of staff and secretary to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, as the substantive chairman of the anti-graft agency is generating the usual controversy around the country. Many talk about the spirit and the letter of the act establishing the EFCC. And so you wonder, is this a case of 6 1/2 dozen? Jide.
I have read what has been written regarding the appointment, and you know, in most cases, people allow their emotions to determine what side they take on issues. We've had retired police generals head the EFCC in the past, but no one can say that every retired police general who headed the EFCC had such a great experience. And Justice Salami, one of the recommendations he made was that, in this report, was that they should stop using retired policemen.
For the job of...
they should stop using serving policemen to head the EFCC. Now, I have no reason to believe that because somebody is a lawyer, you cannot function in that position. After all, in case of the EFCC, we've had people without any background in law enforcement head the ICPC, and they did well. Justice Akombi headed the ICPC. He did a good job. The person, Owasonye, too, it's not, he had no background in law enforcement. And no one will say that he didn't try his best. ICPC has always done well. In terms of prosecution, that is an area where we need to improve. And I want to believe that for somebody who had served as secretary of the EFCC, which is the administrative backbone of the agency, I want to believe that that person has enough experience, enough knowledge of the inner workings of the EFCC to be able to do the job. In Nigeria, we focus so much on strengthening the strength of individuals rather than strengthening the institutions. If the institutions are strong and the structures are in place.
But any institution like this one,
yes,
must be headed by a captain who fits the bill.
Yes, somebody, and I'm saying that for someone who had been secretary, who had
and chief of
staff to a chairman, you cannot say that he does not have sufficient knowledge of the EFCC to be able to get the job done. We can't say that, and I'm saying that look, we've also used policemen, and it has not always been rosy. That is the point that we are making. We've used retired policemen, we've used serving policemen, and it hasn't always been rosy. EFCC has to do better in terms of its mandate.
That's it.
That is what matters.
That's the argument.
Perhaps this person would even do much better than the people that we had before him. No one knows. That is the challenge for him, to go and show that You can do it. And I've also read the federal government has also disagreed with those who said that his appointment did not conform with the act setting
provisions.
Yes, so as far as they are concerned, the president has not done the wrong thing by picking this fellow.
So it's not, you are not swayed by the fact that, look, to be head of the anti-graft agency, you must have about some 14, 15, 16 years behind you. But the man we are talking about is hardly 10 years there.
No, the point that I'm making is that you don't have to. Many people are expecting that, oh, they will go and bring somebody of the rank of a police general. And I'm saying that it does not guarantee the success of that person. Look at football, for example. Those clubs in Europe, a lot of the CEOs of those clubs, in fact, most of the CEOs of those big clubs in England and other places, they never played the game. They never played the game. A lot of them are lawyers. Check them out.
Professionals in other fields.
Yes, a lot of them lawyers. They know how to get deals done and all that, because the business side of the work is massive.
But the anti-graft agency, an appointment to headship of the anti-graft agency is a different kettle of fish here.
Yes, it's a different kettle of fish. And for us as Nigerians, we want the EFCC to succeed.
Yeah.
But appointing a serving police general is not the silver bullet that will deliver success. That is the point that I'm making, because we've tried that in the past. We tried retire. We tried even serving police officers. So saying that, oh, it has to be somebody who has police background and all that, I do not agree.
Okay, Wale, Jide is not necessarily speaking for you. Do you see the argument or the logic of the opponents here?
Well, we have to look at every issue within context. In the first place, when you are talking about 30 years experience, 35 years experience, that may not apply to anybody that wants to work in the EFCC. It's relatively a new organization.
EFCC is hardly 20 years old.
Yeah, 2000. And it's an organization that is an ongoing process, that we are trying to see how it's going to work. And that means it's not an organization you can compare with customs that has been there since 1891 in Nigeria, or police that is over 100 years. So we'll be confronted with new situations, new model, new experiences. And that was why when Abdul Rashid came there, this controversy also came up. Even when Nuru Ribadu was appointed, there was also this controversy that why should you pick an ex-policeman? Oh, police is corrupt and all that. The woman, Farida Waziri, the same, issue.
Yeah, but...
Magu spent 5 years, he was never confirmed.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is this. The Section 2, subsection 3, says that
of the
EFCC Act of 2005, that a member that must be a member of any government security or law enforcement agent. The fellow we are talking about was former chief of staff to EFCC, spent, I think, 2016 to 2018. Then from 2018 to 2023, he was secretary of that commission. And he's a member of Fraud Advisory Board in the United Kingdom, Institute of Arbitration in France, regulatory compliance consultant to civil, various, fraud units. Then Technical Committee on the Reposition of Nigerian Intelligence Unit. He's also a member. And he has been a lawyer for 22 years. So when the law says government security or law enforcement agent, there are so many institutions in Nigeria that deal with law enforcement and security.
Even if it's
not necessarily
private
police.
Yeah.
So when you look at that 22 years of his experience, I think the prospect of his having cumulative experience in investigative security issues should not be pushed aside. And we should also not forget the fact that there was the Salami report that tried, they probed EFCC from 2015 to 2020. This man was never indicted of any, was never linked to any fraud, was never linked to any. So I believe that we should see, let us give him a trial. He's a lawyer, he's part of the FCC, he's part of the institution, he has worked there before, he understands the terrain, he's not a stranger to that field. We should not forget that criticisms are informed by so many reasons, most of the time political. There is nobody you put in that position today. Some people will rise up and say no. They just don't want to, they just don't want to accept anything. They will come out and criticize it. So for me, I think we should give him a trial. He has been there without any stain, for this long. So if you are talking about the case of fraud, this and that, okay, we can. But if it's just on this other issue of competence.
Well, in 20 years, you yourself couldn't say that the EFCC has had a smooth sail.
Yeah, that's why, because it's a new organization. So it's going to, there will be a lot of wide winds, a lot of waves that the new organization will.
Well, at 20 years, we assume you are beginning to become your own man.
Oh, yes. But then you are still trying to find your feet as a bachelor at 20 years, So the institution is something that we need. If you weigh, both sides, imagine a country without the FCC. That thing should prick our conscience. With all the work the FCC has done over these years, the curving of debt, taking back stolen assets have been conducted around in the past by TFC, and a lot of property that they have seized from people, even getting governors to be jailed. That has never happened in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So we need to wait and appreciate.
The truth is that EFCC is a law enforcement organ or government.
Yeah.
And the stipulation is that you must be a member of a government law enforcement agency.
Yeah.
This is stated. So somebody who worked with the EFCC for that long, and it also talked about cognate experience. Cognate experience means somebody who has picked up valuable skills in respect of the subject matter. So you cannot say that somebody who worked not just as chief of staff, but as secretary, the administrative head of that government law enforcement organ, does not have experience or does not meet the stipulation in the law.
Yeah, Jide, but you must excuse the diffidence of some Nigerians here, because you have what you call prima facie cases, which the EFCC seemingly bungled. And so you are wondering if it was coming from the inside or from somewhere.
I don't know. That is hardly related to what we are saying. You don't know. It's difficult to bungle a case without the involvement of the lawyer and the people who did the prosecution. Sometimes even the investigation could be good, but a lawyer can bungle a case even by a statement that comes out of his mouth. The same way a judge can have himself unwittingly disqualified from continuing the trial of a particular felon because of something that he said,
So the suspicion of
the lawyer to the respondent could then say, oh, this person had made up his mind to jail a person. This person is not even biased. This person is biased. So many things determine how the EFCC handles cases and loses cases. But the bulk of the cases they lose, if you go back in time, you see that these are cases involving the politically exposed persons. Those are the people capable of hiring the richest lawyers, the biggest lawyers around, And they also know how to maneuver their ways around things. But the EFCC has to improve in many ways. Okay. And we expect that this new man will lead us to the EFCC of our dream. A EFCC that does not believe in media trial, that does excellent work of investigating infractions and then ensure that by the time they get to court, it's actually a prima facie case that they have established. But if you do a wishy-washy or shilly-shally kind of investigation and you just go to court before you've done due diligence, the outcome is predictable. Whether it is EFCC or any other, you have to do due diligence.
We hand over things to the Senate. I hope the Senate will do the needful.
Yes.
So we have a new kid on the block, yes, as they say.
Yes, and it is our wish that he will do a good job. If he does well, he gives himself immortality. If he fails, the failure is not for him alone. It is for everyone around him. It is for members of his family. It is for everyone who had faith in him.
All right.
So before people go into office, they must always bear this in mind. You can perform and give your family such an excellent name. You can fail and even make your children become laughingstock in the community.
And spread the opprobrium, as they say.
My point is clear.
Okay, so let's go to our next story. You know, when